Hi guys, hope you're well. Welcome to DOdaily Thursday, your questions and answers live again. Hope you're all well, hope you're having a great week. Thankfully, it's cooled down a little bit out there. Hopefully it's the same for you. It's been a bit hot this week. People have been struggling a little bit, but it's great to see all the activity. Yesterday, of course, the Wednesday workout, that was absolutely fantastic. What a start we got off to. Lots of activity completed and lots of people getting involved. So I was really pleased to see that. Managed to get out myself as well. So managed to tick a few off. So look forward to that again next week and carrying on. But like I say, today's Thursday Thoughts, and I've got plenty of questions and plenty of comments to go through. So going to crack on. First question today was from Simon. He asked about rehydration, basically what's best, water or electrolytes. So I've done a little bit of research into this. I've read a few articles, and what seems to be the common theme is unless you're taking part in activity time and unless you're taking part in real strenuous activity and you need to rehydrate quickly, the best thing you can have is water. You know, it's equally as effective as anything. What I will say is some of the other drinks that you might not think of, like beer and coffee and caffeine and milk in particular, can also be quite good for rehydration in small amounts. So I was reading something that post-race drinks not always a bad thing, but generally water is adequate. The reason for that is because water gives you sodium, all the nutrients you need, sodium, calcium, magnesium. The only one thing that lacks on whilst you're taking part in activity is potassium. And what we tend to do is lose a lot of potassium through sweat. So electrolytes tends to be a good way of replacing that whilst you're in the activity when it's particularly hot. It's a really good way, perhaps even when you're suffering from diarrhea and sickness. It can be a great way of replenishing the potassium that you're losing. And that's the one thing that water doesn't really give. And I was looking a bit into water as well. And basically anything, even tap water, that's not labelled distilled, tends to give you some electrolytes at least. So that's why water can be so good for you, as well as sort of treating all the parts of the body it looks after as well. You know, all the things we need water for in general. So water is a fantastic way to stay hydrated. We all know that. But, of course, electrolytes, there's a theory that we need these more often or not. And to be honest, basically what this article says, and I'll post this article up as well, it tells us that whilst electrolytes are good during activity, they can often be expensive. They can be high calorific, you know, if they're in energy drinks. And whilst these things might taste nice and might do the trick, the general conception is that if only athletes really need these high calorie sort of electrolyte drinks, because any sort of normal runner, you know, club runner, social runner, only really needs what the water gives as well as the potassium. What this article does give, which I am going to post, is a great homemade recipe for making your own electrolytes. Again, they can be quite expensive to buy, and it's also a bit of a trial and error with them. So sometimes you might just be testing them and costing you a lot of money in the meantime. It's like the energy drinks, they react, or the energy gels, they might react differently to your stomach, with your stomach as they will to someone else's. So it's really important to find out what works for you. But if the homemade recipe works, there's a fantastic sort of option to use. But in summary, really, basically, you only really need electrolytes when it's really hot during activity or when you might be suffering from a little bit of sickness and diarrhea. And it's all about getting that potassium back into your body, which you might lose a lot of. Whilst water's got a tiny bit of that, it's got enough of that in normal circumstances. It's not got quite enough when you're sweating heavily or losing what you lose through vomiting and diarrhea. So hopefully that helps, Simon. I've spoke a lot about nutrition. Of course, it's been hot as well. So the reason I mentioned it at the start of the video. So look back on some of the previous Thursdays. There's lots about hydration. But I was saying to Kay, as I was doing a bit of revision for this, something I really want to look into. I'm looking at potentially looking at nutrition and hydration and looking at learning a lot more. So look out for that in the future. The next question is from Helen. Helen basically asked, does age matter, or do you need to? Does age matter when you run? When you're looking at running, or do you need to change your approach as you get a little older? Again, for performance athletes, definitely it matters. A performance athlete is obviously going to tend to peak sort of between the mid-20s and mid-30s, and then sort of see a slow decline from there because they're performing at the absolute top level and getting absolutely what they can from the body. In terms of what the clientele and the people who are watching, the viewers are watching of DOdaily, I'd say you don't really need to change your approach to running. What you possibly might need to do, and this is something I'm doing a lot of at the moment, of course. I've hit that magic number 40 just recently, so it's important for me. I feel it's important for me to start looking at the ways I'm living, the things I'm doing, and whilst it won't necessarily stop you running and affect things dramatically, if you're running at the level of a social runner, a club runner, what you might want to do is look at little changes you can make to your diet, perhaps including a lot more stretching. Of course, old age catches up with us all, regardless of whether we're runners or not. So we all slow down. We gain more fat. Our muscle density decreases. So it's important to sort of stay on top of it, but keep it consistent. Keep exercise consistent. That's the one thing as you get older. Whilst not absolutely straining yourself and pushing yourself too much, it's important to be consistent with your exercise. Keep those joints moving. Keep getting out there. Even if it's just for a walk. Even if you perhaps take up different activities, you'll see out and about a lot of older people tend to take up tennis. Whilst that might be seen as people just using the time just to keep busy and things like that, it's actually really useful in using different muscles and working the body. So, like I said, I think it's really important just to focus on the old age and what changes we can make, rather than what we can make as runners. Because one of the reasons I'm making some real changes this week, and I've really kicked in with a new health plan and trying to get up early and trying to sleep well, is because I want to improve again. I've only been running 5 years, and I started running when I was 35, and I've seen a lot of improvement over those first 2 years. And as opposed to a performance athlete, which I said would have peaked by that point, I saw a lot of progress, but then I've seen a lot of decline because of illness and injury and all sorts of different reasons. But I still want to improve. And I was having a conversation just last week with somebody I was running with, that in terms of running, you still see guys out there up until the 60s still knocking out these great times, still achieving PBs, still achieving great things. I always say when I'm encouraging activity, it's never too late to run. Start running. It's never too late to start walking, get on the bike, anything. It's all relative to where we are. So if you want to keep sort of performing to your level and keep performing quite well to whatever relatively that is, it's important to make small changes, small adjustments, things we'd all consider as we're getting older. Like I say, in terms of running and getting old, you don't really have to approach it in any different way. At the end of the day, it's one step in front of the other. However, we're getting out there and doing it. The important thing is that we're getting out there and doing it. So hopefully that helps. The next question, Hannah basically says, will I ever be able to give up sugar? Well, To be honest, Anna, that's up to you. One thing I'll say to you, one thing I'll ask you is, do you really want to give up sugar? When Anna asked this question, she basically said that it's a bit of a running joke in a family that she'll never be able to give up sugar. Well, when I read that, the first thing that sprung to my mind was that would be the first thing that made me give up sugar. I might be stubborn, I might be stubborn and be doing it purely for that reason. But if somebody tells me I can't do something, sometimes that's just the motivation I need to do something. So, but I think what's quite important is that do you really, like I said, do you want to? Sometimes we say we need to give up sugar or we want to give up sugar, and saying one is a completely different thing. Needing to, we all need to do certain things. We all need to eat a little bit more healthy, drink less alcohol, do more exercise. But like I say, it really boils down to whether we really want to or not. And if you want to do it, if you tell yourself you want to do it, if you use the right terminology, sometimes that's just enough. I was evaluating DOdaily a couple of weeks ago with the guys at Get Out, Get Active, who I sort of work with in terms of bringing this to you. And one of the guys I was talking to said they're already using Monday motivation around the house, whilst they're not fully into the activity, whilst they don't obviously take on everything. I'm not expecting you to do that. They were saying they use Monday motivation. So already they're thinking on a Monday, what can we do to make things that little bit better for ourselves? And that's what the point I'm getting to is by saying I want to or I need to, there's a complete difference there, isn't there? So I think it's really important to decide for yourself, do you really want to give up sugar? Yes, there might be a need, but I listen to a lot of podcasts as well, and the guys always saying, I listen to in one in particular, people always say to him, I want to do this, I want to do that. And the first question you ask him is, do you really want to do it? And if you've got an excuse not to, then you don't really want to do it. And that's what I'm finding with some of the things I'm doing. I've been talking about getting up early for a long time now, getting up really early, going for a run, getting myself back to the weight I want to be, making these healthy changes. And whilst things get in the way, and I completely understand it's happened to me, I'm not beating myself up too much for not doing it to this point, but really it boils down to whether we really want to do it. And I've found that point where I really want to do it. I've been talking about Kay recently. She's wanted to sort of get the running bug back. And she's found it hard for various reasons, but all of a sudden something's clicked and she really wants to do it. And it's really important to decide how much you want this. Do you want that do you want to run and get a 5k PB more than you want the pain of running to get a 5k PB? We know the benefits that come off the back of it. We know the hard work that has to be put in. But it's the same with diets. Do you want to sort of make that commitment to not doing something to reap the benefits at the end? Believe me, this week I've drank so much water. A friend has introduced me to a shake diet, and whilst it's not the long-term option for me, because it's impractical to be honest, but it's a great way to get me into the mindset of thinking, how much do I really want this? It's helped me sort of in transition, I guess, but seeing results already, and believe me, I have. It's really, really helping me focus on the next step and doing what I need to do to move forward. This guy also mentioned as well, when it comes to food, he says a question he gets asked a lot is, what is the last meal he'd have on earth if it was his very last day? And he's now a complete vegan, and he doesn't drink, and he doesn't eat all the things vegans don't. And basically, he was asked a question. He said if it was his last ever meal, he'd have this particular pizza in Italy with a bottle of red wine, and he'd enjoy it and he'd love it. And then it was thrown back at him, well, you don't eat meat, you don't eat what's in that pizza. and he was like, it's my last ever meal. But to be where he wants to be right now, he's got to sacrifice those things. And he doesn't have to sacrifice those things, but because he really wants to, he has to sacrifice those things. And that's what's important to him. So like I say, it's just what I'd say there with anything, that's kind of a broad question. Will I ever be able to give up sugar? Will I ever be able to give up anything? Do you know, I'm currently abstaining from alcohol for 100 days. It's not been as hard as I thought it would be, but in many ways, it's really hard. You know, some of the times when I just feel like reaching out, or a hot day, you know, and then I'm starting to think, will I ever get to that? Which actually leads me quite nicely onto another question from Simon. He asked me personally about how not drinking alcohol has made a difference to me. And what I will say, Simon, is basically I really feel now it's making a difference. But what I had to do is, when I stopped alcohol, I didn't really focus on my food. I didn't focus on my food intake, and some of the things I was probably drinking, probably fizzy drinks, which I'm not big on. I don't normally drink fizzy drinks when I drink a bit more alcohol. I've had to cut those out, you know, because I was just replacing one thing for the other. And whilst it might not quite be the same, it's nearly as bad. So the reason for cutting out the alcohol was basically to lose weight, to start feeling better. Since I've made changes to my diet as well, in the last couple of weeks in particular, some of the pains I had, my injury, without any medicines or any sort of physio to repair it, it's actually not causing me any pain. Some of the pains I had post-operation have gone away. So now I'm 8 weeks in. It might just be that the alcohol, or the lack of it, is taking its toll. You know, is doing what it needs to do, is purifying what's inside. I'm hoping that's the case. But like I say, since I've really sorted my sleep out as well, really tired, still getting used to it, still really having to force myself to get up, but I'm feeling a lot better. I tend to go to sleep at a bit more realistic time in the evening. So all those things combined are making a real difference. And now, finally, again, I'm starting to see results with my running. I'd be able to run 1, possibly 2 days tops a couple of weeks ago, but now I've done 4 days in a row, and I've actually run 5 times in that 4 days. And each of those days, I've done 2 bits of activity, normally followed up by a walk. But one of those, I did 2 runs in 1 day, and I'm not feeling any sort of lingering pain. It's hard whilst I'm doing it. I'm unfit. I'm nowhere near as fit as I was, but the changes are definitely there. Things are definitely changing, and these are the things I'm starting to sort of believe in. Do you know, whilst I made that change, did I think it was a long-term answer? Probably not when I started. I just know, we all know what not drinking and the amount of calories in beer and food and what not having certain things can do. Did I really believe it? Possibly not. Do I believe in it a bit more now? Probably. Do you know, and whilst I will drink again, I'm looking forward to that first drink and having a few drinks when I start. It's definitely going to change my outlook to it, and some of the unnecessary drinking, I'll perhaps do it as a big occasions and even some other social occasions, but I'll try not to be going for it quite as much as I've done in the past, whilst it's never really been a problem, but you know what I mean. Hopefully that covers a few bases there, but like I say, it's just about making those changes and the importance of small things. It's took me a while, you know. Perhaps when I started out with the 100 days of no alcohol, I thought that might be the answer alone, but as time's progressed, I've realised that one small change leads into another. I've kind of been passing this message on quite a lot and trying to sort of let people know how it's affected me and how negatively and positively. But sometimes it just needs one thing to sort of knock onto another. And I kind of forget about the alcohol a little bit sometimes. This week I've been a bit more focused on my food. I've been focused on my running again. So the thought of not drinking has completely gone out of my mind. Of course, it pops in occasionally, but the important thing is just to take things one step at a time. Do you know, I've been guilty in the past of trying to rush things. When I first lost weight, I first lost 6 stone. I knew I needed to lose about 5 or 6 stone. I had no intentions of running. But what I did when I decided I was going to lose weight was tell myself I needed to lose 2 stone in a year, because it became realistic. It became achievable. 6 stone was unrealistic. 2-3 pound of 6 stone means nothing. 2-3 pound of 2 stone a week, that per week over a year, is making a massive difference. I lost that 6 stone in a year. So that's why it's really important to set a few targets. You know, that's what I'm constantly doing here, is setting targets, small but achievable, you know, and then putting other things in the way to distract me a little bit from those, and also try and focus on the bigger things, like the things I really love, like the running and activity, and passing on the message now, obviously through DOdaily. So hopefully that sort of helps with that. The last question today is a slightly different one, but it's a great question to have anyway. For me, as somebody who's recently started doing DOdaily and doing something along these lines, basically Kirsty asked me, what advice would I give to somebody looking to start vlogging? Don't. No, just kidding. Of course, what advice I would give you, Kirsty, if you want to do it, is just do it. Do you know, I'm still really, really nervous. I still feel like I'm out my comfort zone. Whilst people give me nice comments, say I'm doing well, do you know, whilst I have done quite a few episodes now, the point is, whether I can relay the message I want to or not, is I'm really passionate on getting something across. And for me, it's about activity and running, and now other things are coming into it. So if you've got a message you really want to sort of pass across, just go ahead and do it. What you do have to understand, and this is something I learned when I started a running group, a guy said to me, if you're prepared to go and stand there in the snow and nobody turns up, then go ahead and do it. You'll be the perfect person to do it, because all people need is encouragement. They don't need an expert. They don't need a pro. Do you know, unless you're Mo Farah, you're not going to run a 10K if that's the attitude you've got, because you'll never be as good as them. But we all still go running. So if you want to vlog, you're not necessarily going to be as good as somebody else doing it. But so what? You're still doing what you want to do. You can get better. You can improve. You can try it out. You can give it up. You know, what I will say as well, takes a lot of work, takes a lot of time. Whilst you see me for 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes as it is today, sorry. It takes a lot of my time. Obviously, I do it daily, so really sort of lots of social media and lots of filming put into it. The video yesterday, the 10 minutes you saw took actually about 3 hours, but there you go. But that's something I want to do. I'm quite prepared. The rewards aren't great for me personally. Not that many people are subscribed or watching, but that's something I'm looking to build on. I'd love more people to sort of embrace it. What you've also got to accept, I don't want to be negative about it, because like I said to you, if you want to do it, just go ahead and do it. You'll get better. You've got enough about you. Anybody, not just Kirsty, anybody has got enough about them to follow absolutely whatever they want to do. You can only improve. Nobody's ever going to get worse at anything if you keep doing it. But what I will say is, don't be put off by people negativity. You know, there is people who are not going to subscribe to it. There's people around you, you know, who won't see it for what you do. That's absolutely fine. You know, I've noticed from just looking at the figures, when I first started, lots of people watched it because they probably wanted to see what was happening. And then you see that decline before you start climbing again. Do you know? So just don't get disheartened. If you do start it, give it a real go. Do you know? Who am I to answer this question? That's how I feel a lot of the time. I feel a bit like an imposter. But I'm learning more and more. And I'm glad you asked me that question, because I'm learning more and more not to be. I saw something an article today about Jermaine Genius, obviously a local guy born in Clifton who played for Forest in England. He basically says he experienced imposter syndrome twice. He's been quite successful. He's played for England. He's now a presenter on the BBC on Match of the Day. And he actually said he's really suffered twice, in particular, from imposter syndrome. Once when he played for England. He played in a generation of Beckham, Scholes, Gerrard. And I know not everybody's into football, but these were world-class footballers. So he was never going to get into the team. So he felt like he shouldn't be there. And he felt like if those players turned up, they was going to be in the team. And then also he felt that when he started on Match of the Day, he said he was shaking. He couldn't keep his legs still. He got all his words mixed up. Exactly things I've said by doing this. So it's really, what I think is really important in that question, again, just like Anna's, rather than focusing on the sugar or the vlogging, is do whatever you want to do. And that's the really important thing. People are going to criticize. People are going to like it. You know, I might have a handful of regulars who really tune in. I know Kirsty's one of them, so I'm really grateful for that. But I had to remember when things do get to me that I said at the start of this, if I can help one person, that's important. You know, and that is really important to me. So that's the answer to your questions, guys. Hopefully there was something to go out there. Hopefully some good information. I can see it's getting into quite a long video already. But just before I go, what I will do is just run through last week. I asked you before we finished for one positive during COVID. Of course, there's lots of negatives. There's lots of worry and concern out there, but I was just looking for some positives, what people are taking on board, you know, just to sort of inspire other people to look in and see where they can find positives as well. And so just to run through a few, Daphne said, we saw the kids step up to the plate and show how responsible and mature they were, which meant as a family they could all pull together at this difficult time, which is absolutely fantastic, isn't it? Again, along similar lines, Hannah said, not always rushing from one place to another, having lots of conversations with the boys. And it got them asking lots of questions, which, knowing Hannah, she's got 2 young boys. Children asking questions is always great. It's the way they learn, the way we all learn, you know, and it's what sort of forms them. So again, Ben, he's experiencing a greater appreciation of where he lives. You know, he sometimes takes it for granted. I say that a lot on a Friday when I'm out walking. You know, we can take it for granted. He says living so close to the town and countryside provides amazing locations to take part in activity. Again, just reinforcing that message I give out sort of daily, and particularly on a Friday when I find somewhere different to go. Kay, working from home means she doesn't spend time stuck in traffic, so she's got more time to run, rest and relax. I think that's one of the great things, isn't it? Of course, working from home, it cuts that social circle off a little bit, and it is one of the negatives. But to spin it into a positive, she's saving some time. So that time, I know when Kay finishes work, she quite often goes out for a run. She'd be sat in traffic at that time. So what a plus that is, what a sort of flipping it on its head, the difference it can make. Dawn, she's taking stock of her lifestyle. She's loving the newfound time again, as she can spend time with the family. Again, that's quite a common one, you know. We all moan when we've got work to go to, when we're stuck in traffic, when we're stuck on public transport, you know, about time, and having this extra bit of time is helping us all. And Kirsty, again, it's freed up time to do things for myself, stretching, meditation, reading, etc. All things that are helping her improve herself and look at what she's doing. And she's saved at least 1.5 hours in commute time. Again, if you use that time effectively, yesterday I spoke about walking and working, talking to friends, doing different things. It's absolutely fantastic. Thanks for those, guys. Really appreciate the feedback there, and all great questions. Like I say, I hope it's done the trick. What I'm going to leave you with today, the question I'm going to throw back at you is basically related to Hannah's question. Which one thing do you want to give up? And whilst I've said you need to want to do that, which one thing do you feel you need to give up? and hopefully that can drive some content. I might be able to answer some questions or pass on some tips throughout the week on that. So as ever, guys, if you've liked it, give it the thumbs up. Please subscribe. I'm trying to build that a little bit. I'm building up to my 100th episode. Not quite there, a good few weeks off yet, but somebody set me a little challenge of getting 100 subscribers, and if I can do that, that'd be fantastic. Not really pushed it other than speaking about it and a little bit on social media, so I'm going to give that a real push. Be nice to get some more viewers, nice to get some more subscribers. So if you can share it amongst friends, invite people to look in what we're doing, that'd be absolutely fantastic. For now, I'll be back in the morning for Wake Up to Walk. Absolutely love Friday. I'm going to get up early again, make it 5 days in a row. If I can do 5 days in a row, I feel I've cracked it somewhat. And I always get up early. I always get up early on a Friday, so there's no reason I shouldn't. I'll be looking forward to the weekend, setting the Saturday Selfie Challenge. So until then, till 7 a.m. in the morning, just doing it.